Commissioners are here. Glad to have you here. Welcome to the new year. So let me have your attention and give you the rules of the Commission's meeting here today. If you are not satisfied with the decision made by Traffic and Parking Commission, you may appeal the decision by filing for a writ of certiorari with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of the entry of the Commission's decision. We advise that you seek your own independent legal advice to ensure your appeal is filed within a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met. Do I have approval of today's agenda?
So moved.
Have a first, second? Have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Approval of the minutes from December the 8th, 2014. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Approval of the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda will be voted on at a single time. No individual public hearing will be held, nor will the Commission debate these items unless a member of the audience or the Commission requests that these items be removed from the consent agenda. Notice of public hearing. Keep comments to 3 minutes or less. Each person representing will be expected to offer new information that has not been previously made. Once the public hearing has been closed, no additional comments will be heard unless the public hearing is officially reopened. First of all, I want to thank Councilman Larry Hager for being here out in my district in Old Hickory. Is any other council members here? Don't see any. All right, on the consent agenda, proposal number 2014M 015 AB 001. A request to abandon alley number 160, easements to be retained from Division Street northward to the intersection with alley number 196, requested by SEV 8th and Division LLC, adjacent property owner. Resolution number 0115, authorize no parking or standing on both sides of Brandywine Drive, number 500 through 508, from 2 to 3:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. Do we want to hear from the audience on any of these, Chip?
Yes, sir. I'm going to request that we pull bullet number 2.1, the first bullet under number 2, which is that one you just read, the very last bullet under number 2, which is the parking on Union, and if still requested, the proposal number 15AB001, the first one you read. The rest, I'm okay with remaining on consent.
Okay.
The other 3 bullets.
Do we want to go on and hear the audience on these now before we take the rest of them on?
No, I think you ought to finish out the consent agenda.
Okay.
What's
all
left
right.
of it anyway.
All right, on number 2 bullet,
Point of order real quick. We need to make a motion to move those from the consent agenda, correct? First?
That is correct, yes.
All right. So.
All right, do I have a motion to remove on number 2 bullet 1, to remove it from the consent agenda? Have a first?
Second.
Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All right, authorize no parking or standing on both sides of Heritage Drive from Shacklet Drive, ending at a dead end. Modify speed limit from 50 miles per hour to 45 miles per hour on Franklin Road from Berry Road to Redwood Drive. Modify no parking or standing to no parking except buses on Edge Hill Avenue from 19th Avenue to 21st Avenue. Request an approval to valet zone on both sides of Union between 3rd Avenue and 4th Avenue, requested by UBS Tower. All right, you want to go back to bullet number 1?
Well, we've got a request to remove that last bullet also.
All right, you want to remove?
We need a
Do
motion
I have
on
a
that.
request to remove the last bullet?
So moved.
Second, all in favor, say aye. Okay. All right. Do we want to just take bullet number 1 first before we vote on these others?
Well, what did we decide on proposal number 2014M, consent item number 1? Did we,
That was a part of my first motion, was to remove it.
and the first
From the-
one? And
yeah, the first
one?
motion.
Okay, I
So
didn't
that
hear
one's
that. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I'll restate my motion. I make a motion to move proposal number 2014M-15AB-001 from the consent agenda.
Have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Okay. All right. On proposal number 2014M-05AB, you'll,
Yeah, we have a request from someone to see a map. It basically, Corby, you have it in a slide. We've got a hard copy up here we're passing around. It's part of the Division Street extension. Not Google, really. It'd be part of your slides if you had one. All right, so that hard copy is about all we have to go by as far as where we're talking about. It's just a little sliver of land related to the Division Street extension that we're working on around 7th Avenue.
Okay. That's what it's related to?
Correct.
The extension that's going to be going in?
Yes.
okay. Stevens, that's one you wanted pulled. Do you have any questions?
Well, no, I was pulling on the request of Mr. Knopf.
Right, we had a request just to see it.
Just
the
to
commissioners
discuss
didn't
it
know where we were
separately
talking about, right.
from the rest, right?
We didn't know where it was.
Correct. I mean, our recommendation is still to approve. When somebody wants a little more information, I'd like to provide it, and that's all I have right now is a hard copy.
Okay, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a first and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, on resolution number 01-15, authorize no parking or standing on both sides of Brandywine Drive, number 500 through 508 from 2 to 3:30 p.m., Monday through Friday. And I believe, Chip, this is one that the audience and maybe the captain here wants to speak on it.
Right, Sergeant Denton would like, well, I'd like him to speak if he's willing to, and then we have some residents that would like to speak. Quick setup, people park along this street waiting to either pick up their kids from the school across the street, or the kids come to them, from what I understand, while they're parked in the neighborhood. So we look at it with the blinders on as engineers, and we check the width of the road, and is it blocking anything? Is it blocking utilities and that sort of thing? Is it preventing an ambulance from getting through there? If the answer is no to that, then we ask for a petition from the neighborhood, and we have received a petition, and I think Julie passed those out earlier. And so now we've got a petition and some neighbors that want no parking, and the police department saying, I don't know about this just yet, so now we're here to debate those two factors.
That's correct. I'm with the school crossing guard division as well, so I've been to meetings at the school. This is an ongoing issue. It's years, not anything recent. I agree with the people with the petition. A lot of people pull up there waiting on their kids on Brandywine Drive. I would estimate somewhere around 50 cars, something like that. It goes almost all the way down to Monchannon. And that's due to the fact there's not enough room in the school to allow all those cars to get in the parking lot. Although there's a lot of room, there's not enough room. And unfortunately, the people sitting there waiting to pick up their kids wind up blocking the driveways, which they should not be doing. It's illegal to block a driveway, and the mailboxes, so if the mail person comes down, they can't. Some pull up into the front yards of people trying to get somewhat off the street, which they shouldn't because it's an extremely wide road, other than where all these trees are built in the middle, which probably looked nice back in the day, but now it really tightens it up. So there's valid complaints from all the residents. But now, if no one can park there, I don't have a solution for it, but they've got to go somewhere. They're going to pick up their children. They can't, I looked at the turning lane out there on Chutes Lane to see if that would accommodate where we can maybe get some permits during the day. There's not enough room for all the cars to be in the turn lane either. And that really would make me pretty nervous, but it's somewhere, but there's not enough room for that either. To back them all the way down Monchannon is not possible because the way that they have it coordinated right now, there'll be a crossing guard up by the school parking lot and then one down there in front of Brandywine Drive because the parents will park there, they'll walk over to the school, the principal makes them sign them out now, which is, I don't have any issues with that, but they'll walk over there, then they'll get their children and walk back across. That's one of the reasons we have a guard there. And the one by the parking lot will motion to the one up there by Brandywine, I mean, swing at you there, saying, bring the next row of cars down. So they'll coordinate their efforts as they pull cars out, she pulls cars in. It takes about 2 pulls. It goes really efficiently. It's maybe a 10-minute dismissal, 15-minute dismissal. Having said all that, there's nowhere to put these cars other than that doesn't cost money. Mr. Hager was at a meeting I was at. It was discussed about creating more parking around behind the building, which is an excellent idea, and I believe it'll work. I know it'll work. Of course, that takes construction. That takes time. It takes money. There's a piece of property, I think it's for sale down the cul-de-sac. I believe there's a Brandywine Court Village or something like that, right there on your right. There's some property there. Of course, that takes money. There's a cul-de-sac there. I don't know if that's allowable, where they could put a crosswalk right there at the cul-de-sac and walk straight across the street. I could pull that guard from up at Brandywine and put them down there. Those are solutions. I don't know if they're viable, but it is an option. But so the residents, to sum it up, they have a valid complaint because people are blocking their residents and tearing up their yards. We have patrol going down there and enforcing that as they can, but you can't assign a police officer every single day down there. So they've got to go somewhere, I guess, is where what I've got to say.
Okay. All right. I live out there, and this has always been a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Corey, go back to that cul-de-sac. Okay, that cul-de-sac you see there is old Hickory Boulevard. And they could come in there in both of these lots down here on this corner, and the one where the grass is kind of grown up a little bit. Go back, Corey. Back to the cul-de-sac.
That's it. That's the one I was talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Everything on the left-hand side and in front of this property is for sale. It looks like to me, to solve this problem, that maybe the school system or board could buy one of those lots right there.
It's expensive.
And would solve all of this problem because you've got a way in and way out over here to the left-hand side. This is a cul-de-sac going into these lots, but over here on the left, that's the old Hickory Boulevard that folks could come in and out of there. Can you move it over a little bit to the left more, Corey? Yeah, right there, that's old Hickory Boulevard that comes all the way out to Montana. This would solve all problems.
Is this the school lot?
The school's across the street.
No, sir, that's the
It's across the
dentist
street,
office.
Question.
Okay.
Currently, with cars parked on Brandywine, is the school lot filled too?
Completely.
Okay.
Every inch is filled. Yeah, they do a great job down there. They've got cars pulled there, and I think they've expanded in the years past. They've also expanded trying to the deal with this school is there really aren't any walkers. They're all driven or bussed in because of their design, and so that's what creates so much vehicular traffic. Around behind the school, there is property back there. Mr. Hager, he's from the area as well. It may accommodate, of course, I have an engineer look at it, but it may accommodate 50 cars. I don't know, but that's just another option.
What would you guesstimate of the cars parked in Brandywine?
I would say around 40, 50. It's just an estimate because it's from Brandywine and Chutes Lane almost down to Monchannon. And the times that I've been out there, that's how far I've seen it down. It may be farther sometimes, I don't know, but I usually get out there right as school's about to dismiss.
Question. Does the pickup line work? The people drive down Old Hickory, turn into Monchannon, and then start to line up down Brandywine? Is that what they're doing?
Yeah.
I believe so. That's about the only way you could get
Make
in
sure I
line.
understand.
That's correct. We'll go down Brandywine and do a U-turn and come back in behind them.
Okay. So the cars are backing up down Brandywine, on Brandywine, back up to Monchannon. Is that
Yes, sir.
correct? And then they cross Chute. Is there a traffic guard at Chute?
There's a guard at Chutes that turns them right towards the
Okay.
school, and there's a guard down at the entrance of the school that turn them left up in there.
Okay. Because the problem is Chute Lane is obviously not a place to back up cars.
No, that's why it would just completely gridlock them. And we've already worked with Public Works with having that red light at Old Hickory Boulevard and Chutes Lane stay green longer because it was even worse in the past. And so we put that on, it pulls it longer, so that's helps, but it's not going to fix the problem.
I assume they are not parking where the trees are in the center of the street. They're
Some
backing.
of them are actually parking down there, which is crazy.
That would completely close off that street, right? Couldn't get traffic through there at all?
You can get a car through there, but you can't get a tall truck. It runs into the trees. The times that I've been down there, they park all the way to, right up to the, there's a brick entrance. They'll park right up to that. And it's tight. You couldn't get an ambulance or a fire truck through there.
Okay. Is the number one problem that they are blocking the driveways?
I believe that's that's one of the issues. I don't know. I can't speak to all of the issues. Just that's what's been that and tearing up people's yards. But someone else would have to talk about it. Probably the petition would sell that.
Is this school serviced by buses, school buses?
Yes.
And they're still driving?
Yes. And the reason I believe that I don't think it's just the neighborhood kids. I believe I don't know if a magnet school is the correct term, but it's a particular type of school that people from all over Nashville, it's a privilege, as I've been told, to go to the school, that maybe academically or something.
Okay.
Well, it's one of the things that, what did it go to, the third or fourth grade? Fourth grade, that's the reason that you don't have any people driving into school. I believe Councilman Hager would like to speak on this.
Thank y'all for letting me speak. The petitioner's here also. We did have a meeting with Anna Shepherd. Some of the parents that are car riders. We had Principal Barrio there. We had Officer Denton there, and we all spoke about this, and it was a good meeting. But what's occurred is Andrew Jackson became a optional school, meaning where it's optional, people out of district can come to that school and have their kids go to that school. So that's why we have so many car riders. My children all went to Andrew Jackson, and it was somewhat of a problem back then. That's been about 6-7 years ago. But since Andrew Jackson became an optional school, it's gotten worse. And what they're doing on Brandywine Drive, they back up through there. They're pulling into people's yards and messing up their yards. I think we had one incident that they'll talk about where a mailbox was hit and the people drove off, and then they're blocking driveways. It's only a problem for that hour and a half when they're picking up the children. I talked to Principal Barrio this morning, and I discussed the dead-end street that Commissioner Brown talked about to go down to the end of that dead-end street, and that may be an option for them to put some of the cars down through there. He had indicated that he had talked to the dentist before that lives up there and that worked there, and he said he didn't have a problem with that in the past, but he hadn't asked him lately. So understand, though, that's a public road anyway, I believe. Am I right, Commissioner Brown?
Yes, sir.
Dead ends. So they could run them down to that dead-end street, and then, of course, they have a clean line of sight to the crossing guards where they can direct them to come pick up the children. But that's what's occurred over the time. And I live in the back of Brandywine Farm, so when I come out of there, I'll tell the commission that I avoid that area coming through there between that 2 and 3:30 time because of the congestion that is caused there. I have made recommendations when I was at that meeting. Since my kids went there, I know the school property very well, and there's no reason that somewhere along the road, a road can be run in the back of the property so that it can help to alleviate this problem.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman. Does anyone else like to speak? Come forward, please. Over here. Please give us your name and your address.
Okay, Debbie Myatt Miller, 337 Willow Bow Lane, Old Hickory, Brandywine Farms. I didn't know how to submit these. I could have brought my jump drive, but this is a day, an average day of what goes on. And I'm sorry they're hard copies, but if you could just browse them and look at them, they're even in order as I took them. And the car riders start at 2 o'clock. The drivers start about 2 o'clock backing up. The reason I did this petition is I live in the neighborhood. I do not live in that block. What concerns me as a resident of that neighborhood, profoundly concerns me, is emergency equipment, emergency vehicles trying to get into our neighborhood or exiting our neighborhood. And my safety, when I come in Montchanan, because I too don't go down to Chute Lane during that school time. If I'm on Old Hickory Boulevard, I come in Montchanan to get to my home. Brandywine Drive, and you can see that in one of those pictures, because one of those pictures, I have come in the main entrance. Would it be too much, Corby, to ask you to show the main entrance? Do you have a picture of that? Mr. Bowden and I, he's been in my phone, Bowden. He's been in my phone for several years. Several years ago, he met me out there, and he put up no parking to corner signs at Montchanan and Brandywine. The goal for that was to keep the parents from parking around the corner. You will see those pictures. They stack. That one, sir, that you were just passing, that is a car right on the corner sitting diagonal from Brandywine Drive to Montchanan. They park around the corner. They totally ignore these no parking to corner signs. Officer Kevin Cooley, who is in the same department, perhaps I'm understanding with you, Officer Denton. Officer Kevin Cooley's been in my phone for several years. Before him, it was Officer Crank.
What a great name for a cop.
I thought it was a crossing guard issue. I thought the crossing guards, because I see the parking lot not full, and then all these parents are in our block or our neighborhood, and I would call Officer Cooley and say, please get your crossing guards to move those cars. When a car leaves the parking lot, take a car over. Please get them out of our neighborhood as fast as possible. And what I asked to see that entrance, that is not a 2-lane entrance. That is not a 2-lane exit. That is a single car entrance and a single car exit. Yes, when you get up past the grass median and the trees, it does open up, but you're at least halfway up the block by that time. What happened is I called Officer Cooley in.
Ma'am, try to wrap it up. You're 3 minutes.
I called Officer Cooley and I said, Officer Cooley, once again, we have an issue. Officer Cooley is the one that presented these signs or this option to me. I didn't know a thing about a petition. He said, I've done this many times. I can get them put up, but I've got to get the approval of the residents in that block. I'm not so much doing it for the residents in that block. They're just directly affected. And due to a medical situation of Officer Cooley, he could not get out there in a timely manner. He was having to rely on the schedule of other people. And this was back in September. I have an email here from September when we started this. And then before I knew it, I got a call from Public Works, Mac Rutledge. And he said, I'm sending you a petition. I knew nothing about this. situation. I didn't even know that this was what the procedure that had to be done. That's how the petition got done, and that's how the petition got signed. And that was just basically doing Officer Cooley's job for him
All
in
right.
the event that he had a medical issue.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question for the sergeant. When the people come into the school, do they come in single file, or do they sometimes line up in a double or triple line?
If you go back like an overview of the parking lot, when you come in the entrance, you can go to the right.
To the parking lot?
Yes, sir. Closest to Old Hickory Boulevard. There's one little bitty horseshoe up front. I think that's left for fire department, should there be an issue. But the rest of it is all parking. The first entrance you come to on Chutes Lane, as soon as you turn off Old Hickory Boulevard, you can turn immediately right in the parking lot. See over here to the right, closest to Old Hickory Boulevard, there's like 1, 2, 3. There's 3 lanes, and you see some parking, like right there where the hand's at.
Okay.
They'll put at least 3 car lines in there, and then you have them coming straight up the center. Then you have them all the way around this big horseshoe. And that's 2 or 3 cars deep. I believe it's 2 cars deep.
So in front of the school can only be one lane, basically, it looks like.
Yeah, in the front, I think they leave that. No one parks there, and I believe that's at the direction. Maybe the fire department. I'm anticipating that's why, because no one's allowed to park there, and it just makes sense if something happened, then you got nowhere to put a fire engine. So they utilize it all. We've had issues with people in the parking lot not wanting to follow the directions and be as efficient as possible. My guard went up there and tried to help out after a lot of belligerence and places they were told to go where they shouldn't want to go. I told her, technically, we're out there on the street and across children. Unfortunately, there are parents like that, and so it's the school's responsibility to manage their parking lot, not ours. So I talked to the principal about that. They have leverage on parents that don't want to act and cooperate correctly. We really don't. So my guard, I told her to stay out of the parking lot. The school wants their parking lot managed correctly. They'll need to get their employees out there and do it. And it was just a few, but a few can really make a problem out there.
I'm not trying to be cute, but when you say you don't have leverage, can't you write tickets?
Not on private property.
So, but they're on the street.
They're not on the street.
School parking lot. That's
Private property. Yeah, it's private property. There's very few things about parking. No, that's handicap, properly marked, yes.
Yeah, I understand that.
Just, we want you to go this direction instead of that direction. No, that's the school's responsibility. Usually people cooperate.
Stephen, I hope you've got a solution.
Well, I'm trying. Corbin, can I get a full shot of the school's property? Back, zoom out. There we go. So I'm understanding you to say, officer, that the entire property, including this back lot that I'm seeing right here that looks like it's maybe connected to a gymnasium, you see the white roof area? I'm not familiar with this particular school, but I'm assuming it looks like some type of gymnasium.
They don't park back there because there would be nowhere to go. They just kind of would just block them in. They come down the side parking lot to the left. They'll come up the center and then wrap back around to that horseshoe, which is kind of covered up by the trees a little bit. So you'll have all the cars closest to Old Hickory Boulevard, which is 3 lanes if people will cooperate. And then you usually, I believe it's 2 lanes going up the center that wrap around where that hand's going around right there, which comes back out the entrance. And when they pull that, then they'll motion to Brandywine Drive guard, and she'll pull until this guard down here tells her to stop, and then she'll stop them. And it generally takes a couple of pulls.
Yeah.
All right, Stephen, to answer you, all of that wooded area and that open field, that's the Hermitage property, so that's reason they have nowhere to go.
I guess what I'm getting at is I'm trying to see logistically what can be done with the existing asphalt space that the actual school has to manage this a little bit better, because, I mean, if we grant them what they want today, then tomorrow they're going to have a huge problem of 40 cars needing to go somewhere.
Old Hickory Boulevard and Chutes Lane will be shut.
Yeah, right. And so we'll be right back here again. So I'm trying to look at this problem from a standpoint of just logistically what can be done. And I wish somebody from the school was here, to be honest with you, to get a better understanding of what they can do themselves to manage this traffic, because short of, if you go up to that cul-de-sac, Corbin, the only thing that I can think of that would be a logical perhaps solution is, you see this smaller cul-de-sac that seems to be an alley next to next to Brandywine. The only thing I could think is that would somewhat help is if you just niched in another outlet off of that small cul-de-sac so traffic can flow in and around. But again, you're dealing with property that's private property, doesn't belong to anybody. So I would have to say that the school would probably need to step in and figure out a way that they can manage these cars a little bit better, because I don't know where else they're going to go. And I don't know. I mean, so from your experience,
I've been out there several times, and I've
no,
looked at it, and I'm thinking, I even went against, there was a plan that the principal had in place I wasn't aware of, and so I started pulling cars in a spot that he didn't want them in there. He explained why later on, and we did what we did, but I'm saying that just to the point, I don't know of any other place you could put a car, because some of these other parking lots are for parking. There's just faculties parking there if there's nowhere to go.
Where do the buses currently go on the property?
That's a good point. Somewhere up in that parking lot. I don't know. He can make it address that.
Just working with just knowing some of the other schools and not getting all into their business or how they do dismissal.
Go ahead.
But I know some schools do kind of tiered dismissal.
I believe the buses dismiss first.
So if they did the bus dismissal first and maybe freed up that space, would that then create a situation where there can be a easier flow? No, because you would still have to deal with the problem of the parents waiting for their kids.
The buses are given priority, even with the guards. They pull them in, they stack them up, and maybe that's where one of those. Again, I don't recall where the buses go. I just know that there was no other place to put a car. They do come in early and they let out early, but I don't recall. I really don't recall where they put them.
Chairman, so let's get back. So our issue as a commission is parking and traffic, not what the school is going to do. Not who's going to buy a street. That's not what we deal with. So we can't have a long conversation about what property they're going to buy. That's irrelevant to what we're commissioned to do. We're commissioned to handle the traffic. So if we address the traffic on Brandywine, we're going to create another issue on Chutes Lane and Old Hickory. So there seems to be, if we grant this, we're going to come back in a couple of months on Chutes Lane and Old Hickory, which Old Hickory has a lot of spaces. So if that turning lane got sort of, what do you think about that? If the turning lane got backed up coming that way into Chutes Lane, instead of going all the way up to Mount Shannon to come in and just back them up right there, because they're all turning. And if a emergency vehicle wanted to come, then they could use the outside lanes and still come around to get down Chutes Lane at that point. I just think, you get into this cut right here, you're asking people to do. You can't force them to go up and come down this street, but we can prevent them from coming down Brandywine by putting signs out. I saw the sign on one of your pictures, so they're ignoring the signs too. I guess you put the no parking from one point up, and there was cars there, so.
It was for the corner. It was trying to keep clear.
From turning that,
So,
okay.
So at that intersection, we could cross that intersection.
Yeah, they're ignoring that too. Yeah.
I have a question to
Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I agree with the previous speakers, commissioners, in that what we're going to be doing today if we vote on this and grant the no parking on both sides of the street, this is going to create a bigger problem than what we already have there. I see this problem as one that the school board created with their own policies, and I think we're going to need help from them to to solve the issue. I recommend that, and it's my recommendation that we send this back to the school board and let them come up with a solution as to how they want to address the parking situation for the students and the parents who come to pick them up.
Motion?
So my motion is,
Is that a motion?
so yes, my motion is to defer this indefinitely and let the school board work on this and finding out a solution for what they want to do.
I'm going to second it, even though I am with the neighborhood, but I think there needs to be some more conversation with this principal and with the school board, because it's a no-win for us. If something happens or a car can't get down, then another lawsuit for us, and we don't need another one.
Yeah, okay. John?
I have a question, and this is directed to the officer. I mean, it would seem that if this got implemented, I mean, since you have a presence out there, aren't you almost forced to enforce the rules by starting to write tickets? I mean, that's what these issues ultimately get down to, is how they're going to be enforced.
The crossing guards don't, but the which would be Hermitage Precinct would be out there, and they have gone out there, and they have done some enforcement. Again, there's only so much you can do when you've got neighborhoods requesting the same thing throughout Davidson County. You can't put someone there. But, I mean, they do the best they can for sure, and they have been out there, and they will go out there. If anytime, especially with any new traffic signage or anything, the police department always gets on that, and we really go out there and try to, because it's a learning curve. People adjust their habits, and they're like, okay, I didn't realize I couldn't park there. And then the smart ones change, and the other ones get cited.
Thank you.
I had a similar motion I was going to make, and we'll see if we can meet in the middle here. I'm not sure. But I still feel like it's still our responsibility of what their request is, regardless of what the school board's policy is. Their request was to do no parking, which does still fall within our wheelhouse. So what I was actually going to propose as a motion is to say defer it for 1 month and give the school at least an opportunity to attend this meeting next month and at least give us some sort of plan or understanding of what they intend to do with their own property before we make a decision to grant them or not grant them their request.
Well, my answer
Just to defer, to be clear, just to defer it for 1 month and invite the school, members from the school to come down and at least speak to us so that they may come to us and say, well, I think we can figure this out and use our own property to, navigate through this problem, which will then allow us to be able to give them what they asked. If not, if we defer it indefinitely, then we're kind of leaving them with little of nothing of what we can actually still.
Commissioner, I agree with you to the extent, but how are we going to assure that the school board is going to receive that invitation and come here next month? That's the only thing about it. We don't know if they'll do that.
I'm not sure they would either, but I don't think that has anything to do with our responsibility of trying to at least alleviate some of this problem. And my thinking is, if you grant this where no one can park on that street, people are pretty smart. They're going to figure out another place to go to pick up their kids. It's not like they're just going to be kicked out and not pick their kids up. They're going to figure it out. Yes, it may be Chutes Lane. Yes, it may be Old Hickory Boulevard, but they're going to figure it out. And then you can deal with that problem if that becomes a problem. I have a problem with us deferring it indefinitely. I think we have a responsibility to these folks.
Absolutely.
With all due respect, sir.
Well, can I speak to the indefinite deferral? Indefinite deferral simply means that we don't know when they're going to come up with an idea that could solve this problem. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be 6 months, a year, or 2 years. It could be 1 month. If they grab hold of it and start looking at it right away. But indefinite deferral just leaves us some leeway where we could, wait until they come back with a solution.
Let me say this back to answer your response to my question or my motion. I feel like at least giving them the opportunity to attend the meeting and speak on the behalf of what they can do, will show some due diligence on our behalf as commissioners to, serve this particular area. And then two, I would hope that, our educators and our, principals would, speak honestly and truthfully about what they will be able to do for the problem and, present us properly with some type of real solution that we can hold them and put them to task on, at least to say in an official form for this neighborhood that, it was brought up and this is what they presented to us. And thus then giving them more leverage to say, okay, well, at least the school has at least submitted this plan in this forum to help alleviate this problem, because I do feel for the neighborhood, but at the same time, and being a parent myself, I find concern with the problem that it will create, not only just for the traffic on Shoot Lane and Old Hickory, but the problem that law enforcement and, for that matter, the crossing guards will have with containing that amount of children going wherever else the cars are going from that point. Because to me, that's the next safety issue is that, okay, if they're not going here and they're parking somewhere else, then those are kids that are going to be walking all over the place to go find wherever their parents are parked. So again, motion still, I would still retain my motion to defer it for one meeting, give the school an opportunity to weigh in their liability in this, and at least give us something so that we can make a sound decision for the neighborhood.
Okay. Stephen, we haven't closed public hearing yet, and I believe there's a lady in the back that would like to speak. Ma'am, you mind coming to the podium? Give us your name and address, please.
My name is Sharon Blankenship, and I live in Old Hickory at 513 Sandy Cove. And I'm a retired teacher, so I'm looking at this with both the eyes of a teacher and a parent and a child. I believe on your petition, does the petition list house numbers, I believe, like from 500 to 508 or something like, is that what I saw?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Are these the houses that are across from that grassy area where the trees are that create that bottleneck?
It includes
Right.
that. Yes, includes that.
Okay. Well, if you granted that to where they could not park where that tight situation is, and you go to the area where the road widens and it seems like there may be a space there, if you actually started your lineup of parents to pick up children back on that cul-de-sac that is empty where the dentist office is, and they come in that road there, make the circle, and go up to the left-hand or the right-hand side of the road and start a first-come, first-serve hookup, and then let that cul-de-sac be like a holding area for the cars that ordinarily would park where the road is very narrow and landscaped. If they held those cars there, yes, sir, right where that cul-de-sac is, I believe the dentist office or the office that's there, their driveway, I believe is the only driveway there on that cul-de-sac. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
It looks like it. Okay. Now, if that became a holding area for cars and it took some of the weight of those off that Brandywine area, it would not be hard for you, instead of having to have your special guard on one side there, or if you could assign one so that with walkie-talkies, they could start to dismiss once that parking lot cleared, and whoever is first, just start that U going and draw from there. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. They don't have radios. None of the guards have, they're not police officers, so they
don't have
any radios.
walkie-talkies? Okay, is that something the school could look into? to get him?
We're not under the school board, it's be under the police department. They can pitch any idea.
Okay, well, I mean, it would pick up at least some of that traffic that seems to be impeding that entrance and exit, of which these folks are asking for. I believe there's 8 house numbers there that are asking for relief, and that would be enough to take some of those cars off there.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Councilman, did you want to?
When I talked to Principal Barrio this morning, and I told him about this meeting today, he'd been contacted, I believe, last Monday about it. I didn't get notice of this meeting till Wednesday night, and about our traffic light, too, on Oak Boulevard. Principal Barrio's known about this since Monday, and I've called Ms. Shepherd. She hasn't called me back yet. But I would say that if you defer it one meeting, that would give me the opportunity to get a hold of Ms. Shepherd and get some more input from Principal Barrio as to the suggesting of coming down that dead-end street and backing the cars up in that area, and then might put a little bit more incentive on the school board and those members. I can talk to Ms. Frog and some of the others to come up with an engineering plan to run the cars in the back, as I've already suggested, or as Commissioner Brown suggested, a possibility of buying a piece of that property across the street. That would be my preference, is to just defer it one meeting, so at least see what they're going to do, because I agree, I don't want to just shut it down completely without these people having an opportunity and notice that they're not going to be able to park on Brandywine Drive anymore. And if I give them the opportunity that they can get to their car riding parents to say, we're going to make y'all start going down this dead-end cul-de-sac, I think that's probably the more proper procedure.
Well, the only thing about that, Councilman, Dr. Atchison's not going to like that if he's got clients coming in trying to get into his office.
And that's why I was looking at the, Commissioner Brown, I was looking at that other street, that's the dead-end street.
That Old Hickory Boulevard, the
Correct.
old
I
Old
think
Hickory Boulevard.
That's a public road, as I understand.
Right here, yes, sir.
If that's public, they can go down through there. Principal Barrio did tell me, though, that he had spoken to the dentist earlier in the year and that he was receptive to that. But he'd have to go back and talk to him again, and he hadn't had that opportunity yet.
Okay. Mr. Ellis, did you want to speak?
Well, I mean, I don't want to speak out of turn.
I saw you holding your hand up.
Just to say.
Give us your name and address.
I'm sorry. My name is Johnny Ellis. I live at 1111 Birdsall Street in Old Hickory. I have an office on Old Hickory Boulevard, and my daughter goes to Andrew Jackson School. I came to talk about the Pitts Avenue light, but since this has to deal with where my daughter goes to school, and I'm intimately familiar with dropping the kids off up there and picking them up and all that kind of stuff, I'll just tell you, the school's doing about the best they can with the space they have to work with in terms of getting our cars in and out. We have an overwhelming number of car riders. It's crazy. Now, on Brandywine, if I understand, we're talking about the people who like to park on the side where I'm going to say is coming offshoot lane. Is that right? They like to park up there. And those are the people who are just too lazy to either get there early enough to get in line like everybody else, or they want to get out early. Those are the parents who are parking there and being the problem. So if you put no parking on that side of the street, all it would do is make those people act right. Okay? And conform to do what they ought to be doing now, is getting in line and waiting your turn like all the rest of us do. When I pick up my daughter, I have to get in line on Mont Channing and wait until it's my turn to go around the big car rider circle and pick my daughter up. So, but I mean, there's not any more space to put another car anywhere on the school property. So, and I feel sorry for everybody who lives on Brandywine, and we appreciate you letting us use the roadways in front of your houses. Sometimes I'll stop my car just to walk my daughter down to the crosswalk, but that's about it. I don't park there. I'll wait, and I get there, and I'm there about 30 seconds and then get back up. But for the most part, the people who are getting out And the school doesn't just let the children out, okay? You have to go pick your child up at the school and then walk them back across the street. So it's not like they're opening the doors and letting the kids run wild to go find a car or something like that, just in case you're wondering how it operates in practice instead of theory. And I just thought you might like to have the insight of somebody who actually does this on a daily basis as a parent and somebody who's concerned. And those cars don't always stop for the crossing guards. So I've seen cars drive right past a crossing guard with a stop sign out, and that scares me when my daughter crosses the road. So it is a problem. I wish you well. I don't have any suggestions for you, but just to give you some practical ideas of what's really going on.
You're not a lot of help.
Well, I'm just telling you that if you put no parking on that side of the road, the only people you're going to hurt are the cheaters. The people who are cheating the system anyway.
Okay.
5 seconds,
All right.
4 seconds.
Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you.
All right, commissioners.
We have a motion.
We have a motion from Frank and from Stephen. Which one you want? You going with you, Frank?
His has been second.
All right. His has been second. What was that motion?
My motion was an indefinite deferral to give the councilman and the school board enough time to work things out and also have dialogue with the community. And so it's for an indefinite deferral. This gives the councilman enough time to work with the school board and for them to come up with a decision. Because I don't think the school board is going to readily accept our invitation and be up here next month just like that at our request and come in with a solution. They're probably going to have to dialogue with the people in that area who are being affected as well as the people who are going to be using the street and the councilman.
All right, we have
So
a
I'll leave it
motion,
as an indefinite deferral.
a motion for an indefinite deferral. Chip?
Yeah, let me put out some food for thought here. And this is just an if case, but as commissioners, you kind of got to think like this. If this road weren't quite wide enough, and we had no choice but to say no parking, the cars would have to find a way to go. So like I think Commissioner Mitchell said, we're not here to solve the world's problems, just the traffic parking problem presented to us today. Whether it's today or not, I don't know, but we can't fix the school board's problems. We can give them time, but it's not going to happen. We know that's not going to happen. This school's been like this for years. So be prepared to make a decision on existing conditions at some point in the future because it's not going away. We can wash it away today, but if this road had no choice and we had to put no parking signs because the width was less than 18, which it is, those cars would find a place to go. We just don't have a choice at a certain point.
So on that, back to what I was saying, is that we need to address this, what's going on here, and if they choose to get together and deal with Shoots Lane and Old Hickory, then that's down the road. And whatever's going on with the school and buying property or finding something else, that's down the road. But that's not what we do. We address this issue, what these individuals want, and that's it. We're not here to do it and worry about what the principal's going to do, whether they're going to meet again and all that. That's not our concern. They have a right, after we deal with this item, to do as these individuals have done and come back before us.
Correct. It's what you're listening for is, can emergency vehicles get through there?
And we've
Do we have a
heard that.
petition? The usual stuff that we're listening for, not necessarily of where they're going to go, and because that happens on every decision we make. Every time we put in an all-way stop, that traffic goes somewhere else. So we can't think about that per se.
Well, hearing that,
We want to vote on this one?
oh, we got to vote on this one.
Okay.
On yours?
We have a motion on the floor to defer it in.
Let me say one more thing with the indefinite. During this next month or 2 months, we're going to go out there and make sure this entrance is clear, first of all, at Public Works. So we'll be doing stuff behind the scenes, and we'll help the councilman get a meeting put together, and we'll show up at the meeting if that helps. So an indefinite deferral is not going to just get pushed under the rug. So don't just think we're putting this
No.
away. We'll at least get this entranceway cleared for emergency vehicles and nothing else for now.
This is a problem It's always been a problem. But I think the real solution to this is for them to buy the lots that are available across the street, and they are available. That the school board, or to buy those, and that'll solve all the problems for them to park over there on that street or off the street. I know the folks that own those lots, and they are for sale, and they can be bought at a reasonable price. But anyway, we have a motion on the floor to defer indefinitely. Do I hear a second? Has it been second? All in favor of deferring it indefinite, say aye. Aye. Have one. All right. Stephen?
I'll make a motion to approve their request for no parking, and I make a motion to approve their request for no parking.
I second that motion.
All right, we have a motion to request no parking signs. Is that what you're talking about? Mm-hmm. And I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Got two.
Three.
1, 2, 3.
You want to do a hand vote?
Yes, sir. All right, all in favor, say, raise your right hand. We got 3. 3 against. What?
All right, let me try this. How about a motion to defer 1 month?
Second. Got a motion to defer 1 month.
All right. That was my original one, but Mitchell made such a compelling argument.
All right, we got a motion.
I'm much more comfortable with the deferral for 1 month. I think we were making some progress in that regard too. So I second what was my original motion to defer for 1 month.
Mayor's made a motion to defer for 1 month. Frank second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, good.
Then what?
Y'all be back in 1 month. Hey, Chip. Okay. All right, commissioners on number 2 bullets, 2, 3, and 4 on the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve authorize no parking on both sides of Clearidge Drive, modify the speed limit, and modify the no parking.
All right, have a first and a second.
Second.
Have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. All right, bullet number 5, request to approve a valet zone on the north side of Union between 3rd and 4th Avenue, requested by UBS Towers. Any discussion? Chip?
We have received the application for this valet operation. The hours of operation will be 6 p.m. to midnight. We're requesting commission's approval on this.
Commissioners, any questions?
The reason we pulled it from consent was those times. We needed you to know the times.
Excuse me, what did you say, Chip?
The reason we pulled it from consent is the times weren't listed on your agenda.
So it's from 6 p.m. to midnight?
That is correct.
Where's the UBS tower?
It's a valet operation for a new group. It's going to be on the north side of Union, 100 feet east of 4th Avenue. It's a restaurant.
No.
It's a restaurant with inside.
UBS is a restaurant?
It's at the USB Tower. It's a steakhouse inside the tower.
Oh, okay. All right.
I make a motion to approve a valet stand.
Have a first and a second. All in favor?
6 p.m. and 12 midnight.
Second.
Have a first and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. All right, old business. On number 1, did you want that deleted, Chip?
Defer for 1 month?
Deferred?
Yeah.
And number 2, deferred for two
months,
meetings?
yes, sir.
Excuse me, on issue number 2, modify the residential permanent parking on 15th Avenue South. I mean, this has been deferred several times.
Yeah, So is the trucks. Mr. Miller stopped by my office today, very nicely requested a 2-month deferral, and so I said I'd present it to the commission, and he couldn't show up today. So he wanted a 2-month deferral, hoping to get with Mr. Rogers at Belmont and talk a little more, see what they could work out, if anything. Whether anything gets worked out, I don't know, but I just told him I would request another deferral.
Okay, is this issue?
Here we go. Yeah, indefinite, 2 months, 1 month.
On the agenda, can be brought up at any time. Is that
Correct. That's correct.
Okay.
All right,
We need a motion.
yes, sir, do I have
I make a motion to defer indefinitely for no parking or no trucks of 8 tons on Michigan Ave. And, well, I guess we'll just do it one at a time. So that's that motion.
That's fine.
If we don't have a motion yet, I'll second that motion.
which one are you talking about, John?
Old business, item number 1.
What do you?
I'm making a motion to defer that indefinitely
On number 1?
on item number 1.
But we hadn't had a vote on that yet.
Yeah.
No, and then we have a second from Commissioner Green.
All right, all in favor of deferring it indefinitely? Have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, number 2 is modify residential permit parking on 15th Avenue South at Roundabout in Wedgewood, deferred from December of 2014. You wanted that one deferred indefinitely too, is that right, Chip?
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to defer indefinitely.
Second.
Have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, number 3, modify no parking on the north side of Commerce Street from 4th Avenue to Rosa Parks from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 24 hours, deferred from the December 2014 meeting.
Yeah, we deferred last month, wanting Sergeant Keeter to come speak with us at his, it was his request. He's got an idea of how the special events group moves traffic, and so we just deferred it 1 month until he could appear.
Okay. Come on in, sir. Give us your name.
William Jeff Keeter, Metro Police Department, Special Events Section. I've appeared here before on special events-related issues, vendors. Also design all the traffic plans we use at special events at the venues such as LP Field, Bridgestone Arena, other places like that. We're getting more and more congested in the downtown area. More venues are opening up. Some nights we have 6 and 7 different venues operating at a time. When there is an event at the arena that has a ticket sales of 8,000 or more, we enact what is called a mass traffic plan. I come down at the beginning of the event with 11 to 15 officers. I add 10 more as the event progresses, having 21 to 25 officers. And what we do is we close streets at the end of the event to enact an egress plan. On those nights, we close Broadway completely from 4th Avenue to 8th Avenue and allow no traffic on Broadway. If you've ever been down there to see an event, we empty that 8,000 to 15,000, 17,000 people. They mostly come out the front door and they flood out into Broadway. The street's closed to give us a safe pedestrian walkway and get people to the north to their cars. And a large amount of those thousands that come out the front walk on up north to Commerce Street and access their cars that are in parking lots and garages in that area. On the south side, we close Demonbreun from 4th to 8th and allow no traffic except westbound from 7th Avenue out there to also facilitate the large amount of the cars want to get to I-40 at Broadway, Demonbreun, Church Street, or Charlotte. On the south side, I have a large corridor to use in that I have KVB now, and I can move a large amount of cars on Korean Veterans Boulevard. On the north side, I don't have that luxury of a 4-lane roadway. Since the inception of giving 1 lane of Commerce Street to parking, that completely hampers my attempts to empty traffic from the north side of Broadway. I know there's 18 cars that can park legally between 4th and I think it's 6th. I know there's a few more that park on from 7th to 9th. But at that expense, I can't move emergency equipment through the area. I have a hard time because of other issues. It's become an impromptu taxi stand in the area. They cruise that area waiting to pick up people leaving the arena, and as taxis stop in the one lane I have available, then I have no westbound flow. And it's a public safety issue from the police department's perspective when I can't move vehicles on a 4-lane roadway. So I really need that northernmost westbound lane as a moving traffic lane in order to clear what I call the lower bowl of Commerce Street, 2nd Avenue, 3rd Avenue, and moving cars westbound. Church Street does pretty good, but as you all know, Church Street's a 1-lane road, and as soon as one car wants to turn left, it comes to a stop. Union Street is a pretty good thoroughfare to use, but it's so far up the hill, I can't get people to go up that way. So it's just in the interest of public safety. I really need Commerce Street, and Ms. Marshall can tell you, anytime there's a larger special event, during CMA, 4th of July, New Year's Eve, I have that street posted because it is absolutely critical for us to move our vehicles and emergency vehicles.
Okay. Commissioners, anyone have any questions?
Yes, I was curious from Chip. I know the downtown mobility plan had some improvements for this street. Does this work in conjunction with those future improvements?
It does, and actually, the staff was in agreement with the request. We just knew there were some questions. It's such a busy area. I knew the commission would have some questions about it, so we wanted you to come and speak. We're okay with doing it, but I just knew there would be some questions. It's downtown parking, of course. You're going to have questions.
And businesses along this, there's not, to my knowledge, there's no street frontage. It's not like business depends on that.
Yeah, if we were on the south side, it'd be a little different, but the north side.
But the north side, there's not any that you see, and they're aware of this possible change since it happens on large events already.
We have not notified each business door to door individually. We post our agenda, and I'm sure the word is out somewhat, but.
There are no open businesses on the north side during that hour. I mean, you have CMT, you have number 1 Nashville Place, you have the end of SunTrust, I think, parking garage, then you have an open surface lot, then you have McKendree Daycare, and then you have the Renaissance parking garage, and then you have a fenced-in level lot. So on that north side, there are no businesses open during this. We tow constantly. At these because the people aren't following the signs to begin with. Some nights we'll tow 2 cars off the fire hydrant at 4th and Commerce, make the block, come back and tow 2 more, and we've done that as many as 3 and 4 times in a single night. It's just, they see the signs, and it's sort of like at the school you just heard about. They don't care about the signs. They're just wanting to get parked and get down to Broadway.
Sergeant, what do you do now on event nights to keep people from parking there? Or do you do anything now?
No, it's posted. It's legal currently to park in that northernmost lane westbound unless you're blocking the drive, which we have to constantly tow out the drives, and we have to tow off the fire hydrants.
So for an event night, is there an opportunity just for that night to put some sort of signage or whatever that these people can't park there?
I think it would be burdensome because we're talking about somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 events a year. So someone in the city would have to pick up the tab for the manpower to constantly change signs.
I understand that, the 90 days a year, and we have another 280 that it doesn't hurt when somebody parks there.
It hurts. We're just not there during special events. It's every Friday and Saturday night.
Yeah.
That they do it. It's just during my events, I am there, and I have to make sure a traffic plan works. On the other nights when there's not events, there's no one there with the concern to whether or not traffic moves, unfortunately.
We've lost a lot of parking downtown.
Yes.
I mean, with the construction on 5th now, we've lost a lot. We've lost a lot there as well.
If you could look at it, to me on my event nights, 7th Avenue from Commerce to Broadway, the right-hand westernmost lane, we don't flow any traffic on that street. If you wanted a lane of 7th Avenue. 6th Avenue from Church Street to Commerce is practically a dead street, and there's loading zones on that street that could be used for the same kind of parking. There's several streets that we could look at that, because they're north-south flow streets, they're not used in the way that the east-west flow streets are used.
I would like for us to always, and I assume you are always looking at streets to try to utilize some areas for parking in the future, whether it's meter parking or whatever. I think that needs to always be looked at downtown because we fought parking downtown forever. I've been down there 25 plus years and we've been fighting it always. And every time one parking space goes away, I just cringe. But I understand your need.
I understand and I feel for the people looking for free parking because it rarely exists down there. But my need comes from public safety and needing to move, especially emergency vehicles for events.
We talk about 18 people, but it means a lot to those 18 people.
Okay.
Sergeant, I think you hit the key word there. People are looking for free parking. And the few times that I've had to park downtown, especially for the hockey games, and park in the garage, the public garage, and some of the private lots downtown, the prices are unreal. To spend $15 to park for a hockey game and or $25 for some of the private lots, maybe something we can do to get together. Is the public park, the parking in the arena, is that a private commission?
Yeah, that's private.
It's powers management.
Well, I don't know, maybe so the police department can have luck in lowering those prices. And I think it would eliminate some of the people parking, trying to find free parking.
The best deal is LP Field and $3 to ride the shuttle over.
Absolutely, yeah. Or then the MTA bus, it's $1.70. Yes. And they're also, with the mobility plan, hopefully, more bike-friendly lanes perhaps is envisioned. And so that could be an opportunity too for people. But I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Have a first and a second.
Second.
All in favor say aye. All right, new business. Item number 1, a request to appeal the denial of a traffic signal at Lakeshore Drive and Pitts Avenue. Councilman Hager.
My understanding, I got called, I didn't get notice about this till,
Yeah, there goes. The mic wasn't coming on.
oh, I'm sorry. I didn't get notice about this till Wednesday night. They had sent it to Miss Megan, Councilmember Megan Berry. It's my understanding that from one of the commissioners, they wanted to defer this, I believe, one meeting due to the fact they did not have the traffic counts, or they were, was that?
Yeah, that was me.
Okay.
I called you and I said, we didn't get our data, and what came in, it was corrupt, and so
Right.
do you want to defer? And you said you had people coming, so I said, let's keep it on the agenda, so let's keep it.
So we're going to keep it on the agenda?
It's fine with me, yeah.
Okay. What I did is back in 2003, there was a request for a red light at this particular intersection. That was denied and it went up on appeal. At that particular time, there was a petition back then, if I can hand this in, and there's over 100 signatures, and that was back in 2003. Once it went up on appeal, then at that particular time, on appeal, it did get approved, but it was on a condition that, I believe at that time, Lakewood, the city of Lakewood was in existence. They were going to pay a portion of it, and I believe the state was as well. As such, this was the letter that was sent back in 2003 that was approving the light, but they were going to get the cost from some other agencies to kick in the costs. On August 22nd, 2003, another letter was sent for the estimated cost of that particular light, and I'd like to make that an exhibit as well. Since that time, the increase of traffic on Ohicker Boulevard has increased tremendously. And when you go to Lakeshore and Pitts Avenue, if you pull up on Lakeshore Avenue, it's almost impossible to get out. In addition, there are two or three other businesses down the road, which is the Boulevard Barber Shop. We have a successful Bristow down there. We also have a liquor store down there and a veterinarian. Right down from Lakeshore, The problem there is those people are trying to get out of that business as well. There have been 4 accidents in the last 6 months at that particular business, and as I understand, at Pitts and Lakeshore, there's been approximately 4 or 5 accidents this year. The problem is that when people come around the curve leaving from where's Brandywine Farms, as a matter of fact, that becomes a straightaway through there. It's 45 miles an hour. I am a trial attorney. I've represented 2 people as to that particular road in the last 2 years. One was Dr. Reeves' son that was killed on a bicycle in that stretch of road. And then I had another young man, Miss Lockwood's son, was hit by a car near that area as well on Oak Acre Boulevard. There are probably over 40 to 50,000 cars coming through there every day, and it's increasing as business increases, and also there are developments going in the back of Lakeshore as we speak right now. As such, those are increasing continuously. This was approved at one time. We're asking it to be approved this time. And there are some other areas that have red lights that have less traffic than there is on Oak Acre Boulevard. And it's for the benefit of these citizens in this area. Thank you. And I have some other people here to speak as well.
Anyone else?
I'm Spence Talley, reside at 104 Mount Vernon Drive, Old Hickory. 11 years ago, I came before the commission to get a traffic control signal installed at this particular place. Councilman Hager have gave you some basic background here, that it was the city of Lakewood then. Lakewood decided not to share the cost. The railroad was involved and so forth. But after the appeal, it was approved. Now, coming back this time is based on safety. And I was a safety supervisor for the E.I. DuPont Company for 35 years, so I consider safety for all the citizens of that area. The safety of the people that exit the 2 Old Hickory Boulevard, there's been several accidents there. One, when you come out of Pitts Avenue to make a left turn or a right turn, there's a concrete wall to our left. You have to get on the railroad tracks to see down Old Hickory Boulevard to see what's the oncoming traffic. So therefore, you got to pull on the railroad track, and we've had 4 or 5 different incidents with the train and the cars getting tied up together there on the railroad track. But you got to stop on the railroad track before you can pull out on Old Hickory Boulevard. Therefore, a sign has been erected there since some of the incidents that's saying no stopping on the tracks. Well, you'll stop on the tracks or you'll run on out in Oak Hickory Boulevard, either one. So it's a real safety concern there. One of the ladies that was involved in the tangle up with the train, Ms. Dowell, wanted to be here today, but she's under the weather, a little sick and so forth. But it's a real problem. The next problem is when a school bus make a left turn into Pitts Avenue, it have to cross the Oak Hickory Boulevard, stop in the middle of Oak Hickory Boulevard because the school bus have to stop before it crosses the railroad track. So the school bus is sitting there across Old Hickory Boulevard to make a left turn into Pitts Avenue, which is a real safety concern with a big yellow box filled with kids. So therefore, this has really become a problem before we have fatality there. So we are requesting and appealing that a traffic signal be installed there. One of the next thing is during the Dixie Youth programs of the Little League field that's back there, when that ball field turns out, there's 200 or 300 cars trying to get out of there at one time. And the people that live back there got to sit and wait. And Councilman Hager talked about the distance between one red light and another red light, and I think it was about 1.5 miles that we need another traffic control signal there to slow that traffic down. And in the interest of safety, I request that we be granted this appeal, be granted the light there at that location.
Thank you, Mr. Talley.
Yeah, okay.
I'm ready to make a
Ron.
motion.
Oh, yes, sir.
Request to appeal the denial of traffic signal. That's putting it there, right? Putting it.
Well, now, a little background. This was approved back in '03, like they said, with a 25% each sharing the cost. This commission is not responsible for worrying about the cost of signals and that sort of thing. That's what the condition was put on at the time.
Metro owns that now, right?
Hmm?
Metro owns all that now.
Now it's our property and all that good stuff. So this would be 100% funded by us. That shouldn't be something you consider. It was more of a question of whether the approval back in '03 when it was Lakewood still applies. Because if that approval still applies, this commission is kind of, they don't have to make a decision today. That approval is still on the books, so to speak. Either way, we can approve it.
How do we get it? Well, let's just have it out there so we can get it done.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to understand is what effect does the 03 approval have upon what?
That's what I want to know. Do we have to rescind that
Tell us it, though.
to get that off the books and then kind of start over?
You mean because of the condition on it?
Right. There was condition of 25% each funding from Lakewood State, Railroad, and us.
Okay.
And then,
So it says a request to appeal the denial of the traffic. Was it ever denied?
well, that might not be the right words to use. We denied this new request based on this old one being on the books. We need to clear all that up.
Okay.
Yeah, the volumes are still kind of iffy and all that, but I'm not going to worry about that. I just want to make sure we do the book process the right way.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem to me that if it was granted at the time and it was not ever appealed, by writ of certiorari at that time, that it became a final decision, but apparently there were the conditions attached to it that maybe this current makeup of this commission wouldn't, likewise attach to it. So if they want to, I guess you can rescind at any time. I mean, usually in order for a rescind, you do have some standing rules of procedure on that you have to either have it passed by 2/3 majority, is that it, or 3/4 majority? But I think you can do that. It is the 3/4 vote of the membership in order to rescind a passed motion. And then you could remake the motion without the conditions, and that would certainly be clean.
So we need a motion to rescind. Is that what you're saying? The first?
Rescind. The 03.
Okay.
Conditions.
Okay. So the first motion is to rescind the 03 decision.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, but let me make a comment first. I was councilman at the time that.
That's what I
said. Thank you. But the city of Lakewood was in effect at that time. And if I'm not mistaken, the traffic light was approved, but they wanted Lakewood to pay a portion of it. Is that correct, Jeff, if I remember?
Yeah, 25%.
And they weren't able to come up with their 25%. But since that time, that area has really grown, and it may not show, but on the corner of Pitts Avenue and Old Hickory Boulevard is Tipple Baptist Church right there also that's trying to get in and out of there. And the real problem is not only when people leave that traffic light at Chute Lane, they're up to 50, 60 mile an hour. But Pitts Lane and Lakeshore Drive do not line up directly in front of each other. And so that gives everybody a problem trying to get in and out. And if you're coming out of Lakeshore, that's kind of on a hill right there. And there's been some bad accidents there, and there's going to be more. And but it's up to the commissioners. Sir?
Chip, logistically, will this work to where this will be not an offset intersection, but kind of a unified intersection?
The railroad's more of an issue than the
Than the-
offset,
right.
but it is what it is, and we've dealt with this kind of thing before. We'll make it work. You know, if the signals down the road were too close, that'd be something, but the offsets and stuff, we will probably configure it to where Lakeshore goes, and then Pitts goes, and OHB, of course, goes together. We'll split phases is what we call it.
Okay. So my motion is, first of all, to rescind the 03.
And I second that motion.
Have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Second motion. Make it count. Okay.
All right, everybody raise your right hand in favor. 100. You? Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Second
Now,
motion is to place a traffic signal at Lakeshore Drive and Pitts Avenue.
And I second that motion.
Have a first and a second to place a traffic light at Lakeshore and Pitts Avenue. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Need a hand vote? All right. 100. Unanimous. Good. Congratulations. Ma'am.
I'm Missy McInturf. I own the property on the corner of Old Hickory Boulevard and Lakeshore. And I just wanted
Let
to...
me say this. You're already ahead of the game.
I know.
Okay. Now, go ahead, Missy.
You know me well enough to know I'm already ahead of the game. I wanted to thank you. We wanted to give Lakewood to Metro. I know you didn't want it, but we wanted to give it to you. And it was literally, it is one of the least developed areas in Metro. If you drive around and look, it has changed none in 50 years. And with that red light, you have given us an opportunity to actually not be the slummiest area in Metro, and we appreciate it. So thank you very much.
You haven't seen it yet.
Hey, it can do whatever it needs to do. It will benefit the area.
All right. Thank you, Missy.
Can they have valet parking?
Yeah. Do you have, she's got it at her propeller shop, valet parking.
Yes.
All right, new business. Request to appeal the denial of a stop sign at Wilford Pack Drive and Leela Jones Avenue. Yes, sir.
All right. My name is Michael Scruggs, and I live at 2940 Leela Jones Drive. And I have a petition here. Do I need to pass it down? And it's only, I think there was only one person who said that they didn't want the stop sign at the Wilford Pack and Leela Jones Drive. A lot of us have been talking about it for a long time. Now, I'm only here by myself because most of the people that live around that area are older people, so I couldn't get nobody to come with me. And I didn't know what I was getting into because now I see all you all here, and I didn't think I needed my counsel lady with me. Her name is Karen Johnson, so I'm learning. So now I'm here, and I know the next time I have to do this again, I know what to do. But I'm only here because of safety. That little yellow line you see right there, that's just giving cars a right to just do whatever they want to when they hit that curve. It's sometimes people turn that curve on two wheels, and that's not exaggerating. It is time when kids get off the bus, they walk up that street, they have no safety, no speed zones there. We have a speed sign there that says speed limit 30 miles an hour, and it's supposed to be set up like this, but it's leaning like this, waiting for the wind to just throw it into somebody's house. I'm just concerned. I live in that house right there where you see the stop sign. The stop sign sits right in front of my house. That's my house right there, yeah. I don't care about the stop sign being there, but I'd like to see a stop sign on the other side of that yellow line. Take that yellow sign up, put a stop sign where the arrow is, and put a stop sign on the other side. That's my concern. And also, Bentley Drive and Lyra Jones is dangerous as well. You can't see when you pull out of Lyra Jones and cross Bentley. That's Brantley or Bentley. It's up the street the other way.
I can help us out here. This is such a low volume. 200 cars a day go through this intersection.
No, that's not true.
Well, and I'm helping you. So.
Okay.
It's just a bookkeeping type process where when the numbers fall the way they do with this 70-30, I'm supposed to come see you guys before we throw in an always stop. This is, like I said, it's such a low volume, it would not be that big a deal to put an always stop here. The number said I need to bring it before you. The major movement is where the double yellow line is going. That's why it's configured the way it is. You can see the street here there's not that many houses. To put an always stop in, you're not stopping that many people. They're really probably just going to yield and kind of slow down, and that's probably the objective here anyway. So with that said, I'm not against the always stop. I just had to bring it to the commission.
Okay, I got a motion. Motion for approval.
Second. Have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Good. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming down.
Thank you. If I get that back, y'all keep that.
Yeah. Show it to your neighbors.
Yes, sir. I get it.
Okay. All right, other business.
Thank you.
Car 2 Go. Brenda, would you tell us what that is?
Yes, ma'am. Me?
Yeah, Car 2 Go.
Me do it?
Gentlemen.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I work for Car. Do you guys mind driving for me? I'll tell you when. Okay, thank you.
Your name and address.
I'm Mike DeBonville. I'm from Austin, Texas. I work for Car2Go North America. We're headquartered in Austin, Texas. And we've been looking and interested into expanding into the Nashville area. We are a car sharing company.
You're a what now?
A car sharing company.
Okay.
If you mind going to the first page real quick? We a traditional car share. You normally pick up. You reserve a car for an allotted time. You pick it up from a spot. You go about your day, and then you bring it back to that exact spot. Now, if you reserve the car for, say, 6 hours, and you use it for 5, you still pay for 6. If you use it for more, you likely will pay a penalty. We're the only free-floating point-to-point car sharing company in North America, meaning that you can pick up and drop off the car anywhere we're inside our home area. They're all these little two-door 4.2 smart cars, half the size of a normal car, so they only take up half of the parking spot. But we're currently in 14 cities in North America. That's everything from Seattle, Portland, Austin, Texas, Denver, Washington, D.C., Brooklyn, New York, Columbus, Ohio, and then 4 cities in Canada, which is Vancouver, Calgary, Montreal, and Toronto. If you go to the third slide, please. So how does this work really? You don't have to reserve the car, but you have the option to. You can reserve it for up to 30 minutes at no cost. So if, say, you're getting ready and there's a car right out in front of your house, you can reserve it and make sure that you can get that car. There's a car never more than 5 to 10 minutes walk from where you're at, and no need to return to a designated spot like I talked about earlier. In order to find a car, you look on the app, and it'll show you where all the cars are throughout the city. You can also call in our call center or look online, or you can just find it with your eyes on the street. So how does this work exactly? It's 41 cents a minute that you use the car, or $14.99 an hour. There's no hidden fees. You just pay for what you use. So there's no yearly, monthly fee. There's just a one-time $35 activation fee. But when we come into cities, we waive the fee. We give people free drive time in order to get in the car and get used to it. But it's just pay for what you use. That includes gas, insurance, parking, cleaning, everything, maintenance. So just 41 cents a minute. Or you find the car with the app, or just call in the call center or on the website. And then there's 2 ways to get in. We just recently, you're able to unlock the car with the app, or you can use a member card, which you get a card that has RFID chip. You tap the windshield, wait a few seconds, it opens up the doors. Then you enter in your PIN number, just like your ATM. That way, if anyone got your wallet or your phone, they can't get into the car. Then you go about your day, you park the car, and you log out and you leave the car and no strings attached. Most of our drives are about 20 minutes. In bigger cities like Brooklyn, Toronto, they're about 40, but down here it'll be 20 minutes. In Austin, they're 20 minutes. So people just go to the shop, go to the library, go meet some friends, family, whatever it might be. We asked for no money from the city. Completely, we make it a big initial investment. Just to get the cars alone, it's $3 million. Apart from that, we don't ask for any money for parking. We don't ask for any money for operations down the line. We look to, basically what we do is we set up an agreement with the city where we pay them for metered revenue. So our members don't have to physically pay them, and that can either be a monthly payment or a yearly payment. And then at the end of the year, we rebalance. So if our cars were sitting at the meters longer than we estimated, we pay the city the rest of that money so they don't lose out on anything. We also hire 15 to 20 full and part-time employees. We get office space in the city. We register the cars in the state and the city. We get maintenance done in the city. We hire a third-party cleaning contractor who's moving the cars, fueling them up, cleaning them, keeping them all in good condition. Everything's done locally. We support local events. As you can imagine, Austin has a lot of them. We're at any and all farmers market events, whatever the city wants us or people want us to go to, we go to. And that's not just in the beginning. That's forever. We partner with local universities, so we'll look at getting some dedicated spots in Vanderbilt and Belmont right around there so students can just go straight in there, park there, and not have to be parking in neighboring neighborhoods or driving around looking for parking or getting a parking pass. We also partner with the existing public transit systems, or here bike share, in this case B-Cycle. We have B-Cycle in Austin, and what we did is for their members, we give them a discounted, we give them the free membership plus drive time, and then we got a discounted yearly membership if you're a member. So we work with all transportation systems that are already set up in the city. So next steps, we're looking to bring in to start 200 smart vehicles into the city of Nashville, and then the possibility of moving up based on member demand. There's 3 big things that we need in order to operate. Well, likely 2 in this case. We need to have access to meters without our members having to feed them. Like I said, we'd set up a payment system behind and we'd pay it all. In most cities, we do look for residential parking permit. Diane helped me find the parking permits around here. I mapped it all out. It's all around the Belmont and Vanderbilt University area. I drove around it. In most situations, it's on one side of the street, not the other. To be honest, I don't think we need it. So we could just make that a restriction. They can't park at residential parking permit areas. The third thing is a relaxation of the 2-hour time limit at meters. This is a 24-hour service, so cars do have the possibility of sitting at a meter for longer than 2 hours. But the way members use this, like I said, they'll use it to get around the city, go to work. Susan Shaheen out of California, Berkeley, she does extensive research on transportation systems, specifically car share, ride share, bike share, and all that. She's found that over 50% of the people that are members of car share either got rid of their car, are thinking about getting rid of their car, or have postponed getting another vehicle because of it. We do our own member surveys, and we have found something similar. Just in our 5 years of operations, we found almost 40% of our members do the same. So people will sell their second car or get rid of their car completely. Almost 40% of our members use it in conjunction with public transit, so it just makes those options a little bit more attractive. Say it's raining and you just want to get straight home, take the car, or you can take the bus to the final bus stop and take a car to go to it. So people find ways, cheaper ways to get home than their own personal vehicle. But in case you guys got any questions.
I do.
Yep.
Are you affiliated? It seemed like there was a company called We Share that I know had cars at Vanderbilt and Belmont.
Okay.
So I assume you're totally different than that?
Yes, we are. So we are fully owned and operated by Daimler Mercedes-Benz.
Okay.
They own Smart.
Okay.
But yeah, we're separate. There's a lot of car sharing companies. The main big one is Zipcar.
Zipcar.
That's kind of the one everyone knows.
Because they were at Belmont and Vanderbilt. Are they still at Belmont and Vanderbilt?
I've not had. Sometimes they do have exclusive agreements with universities. Zipcar does. I use Austin as an example. It's very similar to this city in many aspects. But they have an exclusive agreement at UT. So we're not allowed to park on campus, but we can park around it. Okay. If it's a situation like that, it'd be just like that. But I have not had conversations with Vanderbilt or Belmont about their existing operations with car share right now.
Okay, so I'm familiar with. I think this is, from what I understand and read, this is the way particularly the younger demographics are moving into this direction. So
There is, I mean, like I said, we're owned by Daimler. They're an auto manufacturer. They see something, so they're moving into car share. They get it. We actually, last month, we reached 1 million members. People are using it. People are trying to find ways to save money, to save up for college, and if getting rid of a second car and just holding on to one or getting rid of their cars completely, this is working for them. So I think initially our members do tend to be the younger demographic because they're just more eager and willing to try new things. But we have members well into their 80s and everything in between.
Okay, Brenda.
Yes, I know that we do have a We Car program here in Nashville. I've actually used it myself and been a member before. I'm not right now, but I have before. I think we need to look at what is our contract for what we have now, as far as our partnership with the Nashville Downtown Partnership, because I know they do manage the We Car program. So I'm not sure how our contracts are with them, but that's something that needs to be looked at.
Yeah, this is just a little bit to chew on. This isn't meant for an action item or anything. In fact, right now it's in Metro Legal's hands. They're kind of drawing up an ordinance and what this would mean, these 200 spaces, what does that mean? Then when all that gets boiled down, if anything comes of it that the commission needs to vote on, we'll bring it before you. But we just wanted to kind of get the seed planted.
And I would be curious, what is your main difference between, for instance, We Car?
To be honest, I'm not as familiar with We Car. I'll go and look up and do my research. But I will say we are the only ones that's doing right now the freely floating point to point, where you can pick it up and drop it off wherever. They likely have designated spots, and they got to bring it back there. I'm not quite sure how many or where, but we operate it a little bit differently.
This is more like the bike share,
okay,
in a sense, I guess,
sure,
where you pick your car up at one spot and you drop it off in another spot that's designated for a We Car.
Yeah, I imagine it is, yeah.
So, I'm sorry, were you finished? So, a couple of quick questions.
Sure.
What do you have so I guess what I'm saying is, you have a 20-mile radius that you're looking to service in Nashville, or are there specific areas? So I know you mentioned Belmont, Vanderbilt. I'm assuming downtown. What about some of the outlying communities?
So we do have a draft home area, is like what we like to call it. We don't like to do spotty. It's just we want it to be as convenient for the customer as possible, the residents of Nashville. It would be about a 25 to 30 square mile home area around the city of Nashville. Now that includes your, mostly your densest parts, sure, because that's what people are going to be using them. I don't have actually the home area, the draft that we have written up, right, or the draft home area, but it is pretty big. I mean, 25, 30 square miles is pretty big.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Second question, and I have one after that. So your main difference, I guess, that you tout is that you could pick the car up within a 5-minute walk of wherever you're located.
Yep.
Then if I pick the car up, where am I dropping it off to? Another designated location within
No, we in very few situations do we have designated parking. Mostly it's just on like university campuses, or in Austin's kind of a little exception to the rule. The city loves us, so they just give us all this designated parking, but we don't really need it. So you're able to pick it up at any legal on-street parking area.
Okay.
So in this case, it would be any meters or also neighborhoods right in front of your house. So I could pick it up here and bring it straight to my house, or pick it up here and drop it down on Broadway.
And you would look to us to be able to grant some meter parking for you guys to leave the cars there to get picked up.
So all metered parking is what we're looking for access to.
But once the person gets the car, they can drop it off at any meter location.
Yep. And then someone else can pick it up and take it. So let me give you a little flavor. So multiple people are using these cars. We actually have a piece out in Vancouver where 24 different people used one car in one day. So these things are getting moved. Any metered spots are going to be in high density, high use areas. These cars likely will be sitting for 30 minutes to an hour before they even get picked up in those areas. So they'll go to a meter, and someone else will grab it, bring it to wherever they are, someone else can grab it. So you can reserve a car for 30 minutes, but no longer than that.
I got you.
So once you drop it off, it's free for anybody to use.
And when do you guys plan to get the first 50 to 75 vehicles if all things go extremely
So, in order to operate, like I said, we do need some legislation change.
Sure.
And then after that, once we come up with an agreement, which is not particularly hard because we do pay for every minute. We have GPS on all these cars, so we'll pay an upfront fee and then rebalance it at the end of the year. After we get an agreement and we're ready to go, we can have permits, we can be on the ground in 60 days.
Question, this is more Teresa. What, this has to come back to this body for some approvals at some point in time, I assume?
Yes.
What's the next steps, I guess?
Legislation will be required for, any kind of, any different way we could do this, legislation would be required. And any legislation that affects traffic and parking is going to have to come before this commission as a mandatory referral.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Appreciate the information.
All right, thanks, guys.
Commissioners, welcome to the new year. Good meeting today.
I have one.
Yes, sir.
I would just like to extend to the police department and Chief Anderson, since we are concerned with safety and traffic, the way the confrontations, if you were handled in recent months. It just was wonderful. And Nashville received, as did he, a lot of praise for what took place or didn't take place.
We appreciate it.
All right.
I guess should I make a motion to adjourn?
Yes, sir.
And School Crossing Guard Division is hiring, by the way, anybody watching TV out there. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Yes, sir. We have a motion to adjourn. Second. Have a second. All in favor say aye. Hey, everybody have a good month.